Welcome back to the Padilla Family Homestead. We are in Zone 9B in Northern California, and I did a video about a week ago or 2 weeks ago about what I'm starting and when I'm starting to plant them. And I'm about a week late actually. So it's 2 weeks ago I made that video. I'll try to remember to put it up here. Otherwise, I'll have it in the description below, a link to that video. But it is time for us to start seeds. I am so freaking excited. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over kind of the supplies that I have and what I'm attempting to use this year and why. Some of the same things are the exact same things I've used in the past. Some are slightly different. So I'm going to go over that. I'm going to go over kind of where I'm starting my seeds and then go through and actually start them. So first things first, I have my trays. So in the past, I have gotten trays from Walmart, the really flimsy ones. I think they were like $5 in the past. I've also gotten ones off of Amazon, and I finally bit the bullet last year and ordered Bootstrap Farmer trays, and I love them. So this particular one, so holding one on one side, ooh, I just washed it out. Holding it on one side, it's not super flimsy and doesn't break. Any of my past ones that I've gotten from Walmart or Amazon would have bent even with nothing in it. So it's great that they're extra sturdy. So I have this, I don't remember how many cells, should be enough though. Tons of cells. And so I'm going to start with this, and I have a bottom watering tray that has no holes, and that's what I'll be using for my seed starting for the regular garden. And then today I'm also going to start my microgreens, and what I'll use for that is the bottom watering tray and then 8 of these little square containers, and that each square will be a different microgreen. All right, so the next thing that I think is super important is what water I'm going to be using. So I live in the city in California, and I am not going to use my tap water. Tap water has chlorine in it, and I have really done a lot of back and forth on this because a lot of people use just the regular water through the faucet or through whatever to water the plants and are totally fine. I have found that since I switched over, Hey It's a Good Life actually suggested this. They use an RV filter that filters out a lot of that stuff, and they put it on the outside spigot outside, and that's what they use to water their plants, so it's not chlorinated water. And since I switched over doing that, my plants have grown healthier outside, and they have grown better with starting. So I will be using only water through that filter outside. And then I got a seed starting mix for the actual seed starting. So the only reason why I'm doing that is because these are super small little pockets. You can see like my finger, super small pockets, okay? So as soon as they start sprouting, they're gonna get moved up to those like 2.5-inch cups. And then I can pot them into potting soil, because seed starting mix doesn't have any nutrients in it. And the plants only have enough nutrients to kind of get them up and through the soil, and then maybe for a tiny bit, not very long. So if you want any type of growth on them, you have to get them some nutrients. So I don't want to use fish fertilizer or anything like that in my house. So I'm going to go ahead and pot them into actual potting soil. And the potting soil I'm using, I'll show you when we go outside, is, so I had a lot of issues with a lot of different soils that I have done. I can't really make my own compost here. I'm in an apartment. I'm very limited on what I can get my hands on. And last year I had amazing success with using, it's called 420 Bang potting soil, and it has the purple strip across it. It doesn't have pot in it. It just has all the nutrients. that are really good for it. It is kind of a chunkier potting soil, but it has worked great. I also added a little bit of compost to my planters when I planted everything outside. So that helped. It had great success with it. So that's a potting soil I'll be using again this year. So seed starting mix, trays, water that's not chlorinated would be my tip. If all you have is chlorinated water, you might be fine. I did it originally, but I have better success with the filtered water. And I'm going to bring you guys over here and show you my setup over here. Okay, so the next thing I have is I have these bookshelf tops and a 5,000 lumen shop light. I'm only going to do the one, and I have a fan set up here. So light and air movement are super important. And then the other thing is that you need to have your lights so close to your seeds when they're starting. So I'm using these August and Farm containers, and I'll have a couple of them, and I will be putting my trays at first up there so they're closer to the lights. If I need to, I can drop them down. But we're going to see. I want to have room for some taller plants and some seed starting plants. So I think this will work. And I'll have 2 pots underneath there, 2 whatever containers. So that's my setup. This is a daylight LED shop light. And it has been working for growing inside so far. And then I'll lift that fan up to make sure they get really strong stems and keep that air movement, keeps gnats and mold down. So we're going to go ahead and move out and get everything ready to start. Okay, so the soil seed starting mix that I'm using is this EB Stones organic seed starting mix, and then I'm going to show you the potting soil. This is the potting soil that I will be using for inside. That is currently what is inside of all of my planters as well. Okay, so the next thing, you can see I have the filter right here on the faucet, and you have to change them out so often. Just follow the instructions on that. So the first thing I'm going to do is open my seed starting mix. And the trash man's here. And I'm going to go ahead and fill up all of these trays. So I'm going to fill up all the pockets. I'm going to keep my eye out for any bigger twigs and pull those out. There isn't a whole lot in here that I've seen. I don't know if I've been lucky or not. I do not have the solid tray underneath because I'm going to water this really good before I put the plant seeds in. See, that's a pretty big piece. You don't want that in there for seeds. All right, so now we're going to grab the hose, put it on shower. It's cold out, so I do have socks on. Even though I look like I have super white feet, I do have socks on. My friends and family who have given me so much crap for being translucent will crack up over the fact I actually had socks on. Okay, let that sit for a second. I'm going to top off a couple of these. You don't want it really compact, but this was really light, and I have some bigger pockets in here. Alright, so I'll go ahead and rinse off kind of the edge there because this is going in my house. And then I'll just re-ret the top, and then okay. So the inside of this is actually probably still pretty dry, so I don't have a problem. Yeah, I don't have a problem going ahead and putting in the tray now because it's going to hold a little bit of the water. I just didn't want all the excess going through it. So now we're ready to bring this in and start our seeds. Just in case you wanted an up close, I got this off of Amazon, so that's the filter. Okay, we're back inside. I have my tray over here. The first thing I'm going to do though is figure out my map for this. I don't put little plant markers in every single one. I create a piece of paper for each tray that I'm doing and write down here. And then what I do is I clip my clip to a corner. I need to find my smaller clips. But I clip my clip to a corner of this, so I know I'll put, when I'm looking at it, I'll write clip on this corner, and then I'll know that that's how it's lined up. So this tray has 6 times 12, which is 72. Don't do math on camera. I believe I'm right there. Okay, so I'm going to come down and I'm going to go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and that would be 12 over there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Nope, I lied. With that one, 12, and then we'll have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. And this right here is where I'm going to write clip, just so you can see kind of what I'm doing here. Okay, so my clip will be here, and this is 1 through 6 here, and you go across for 12. And then all I'm going to do as I plant my seeds is I am going to write in each box what I am planting. And then if I move some of these out and put another seed in this spot, I can put a light scratch through and put what is new there. That way I know I moved it. So that's kind of my plan. Again, I did go over what I was growing in the last video and kind of what I am starting when. I do have them broken out into what I am starting. Was supposed to start January 17th, and it's the 24th. So I didn't quite follow along with that plan. I also, in that last video, could not find my sacred basil. I found that. So we have that set up. I could not find the other orange hat seeds that I thought I had. But I do have a couple of orange hat tomatoes that I'm going to try to start the seeds from. I'll look at them and see how good they look. And we're going to go ahead and get started. So let's see what's on my list here. We are starting the sacred basil. We're starting the tiny tomatoes. We're starting some collards. We're starting our calendula, chamomile, hyssop, and we're not starting this one because I found, although I kind of really want this one. What am I gonna do? I do want this one. So I think what I'm gonna do is take this Thai sweet basil and I'm gonna take one of the bush bean spots. Thai sweet basil. I knew that was gonna happen. So I put that in there just in case I didn't find my sacred basil, but I do want this. My husband loves it for pho or whatever you call it. And I'm gonna try to make some tea out of it. So we'll go with that. So I know that I need 6 of every single one of these. Where's my other? I'm going to go ahead and plant these early too because of how many days they say. This was my January 31st, 6 weeks out one, and it's only my Agastache or whatever, and it says 14 to 21 days to sprout. Now, most of the time I have a heat mat down. I'm not doing peppers this year, and our house, I have our heater set to 67 most days, and my sourdough starter, like downstairs, it's probably a little cooler than that because that's the upstairs temperature, but it seems to work out okay. And I think that these will be okay because I do a lot of cooking, and ideal temp is 60 to 90, and a lot of these can sprout. It just takes a little bit longer. So if I have things that really aren't sprouting, then I'll pop a heat mat under them just to get them to germinate and then take the heat mat out. But since I'm doing this whole variety of plants and most of them don't need a heat mat, I'm just gonna try to go with no heat mat on any of the plants and see how they do. So I'm gonna go ahead and add these in since they have a longer time frame. So that's what I'll go ahead and start with. I'm doing 6 of every single one of these. So the first thing I'm planting is the Navajo Sunset, and it's going to be ×6 down, and that's going to allow me, I'm just going to write it like this, and I know it's my first one, and then it's ×6 down, so I know all 6 of these are going to be Navajo Sunset. So if I replace this with something else, I can scratch that out and put the arrow up and down, and it gives me room. So these say surface sow. Oh, these say frost hardy. That's nice. I didn't realize that. These seeds are from 2020. So I'm going to put probably 3. They're super tiny, guys. Super, super tiny seeds. So I'm probably going to put 3 in each one and see if I can't get those to germinate. Okay. And then with surface sowing, I'm going to go through afterwards and kind of press them in a little bit. But I want to make sure I do that afterwards. I don't want a bunch of seeds and wet on my hands when I'm trying to get the other seeds out. So the next one is going to be the raspberry daiquiri. Let you kind of look down at what I'm doing. Why I start seeds. Let's talk about this. So starting seeds is more cost effective to me if you do it smart. If you go crazy and you don't have a plan, or if you like everything, this really feels like there's tons left. You will buy everything and spend so much more on seeds. However, if you go in with a plan and you have what you are really wanting to grow, and why. So I have my map here, right? I knew kind of what I wanted to grow, and I started putting down how much of everything I wanted to grow. Then I go through my seeds and I see what I need more of for this year, right? So I have a ton of seeds that I'm not growing this year, but they're still viable and I can still use them in future years. But I spent $3 on this pack of chamomile seeds, this Lottie Land chamomile seeds in 2020, because this is packed for 2020 from Baker Creek. I have grown Lottie Land chamomile. This will be now the 4th year. So I grew it in 2020, 2021, 2022, and now I'm growing it in 2023. So this $3 and 300 seeds, I have gotten lots of plants out of, right? And this is much cheaper than going and buying a start every single year. So this investment I made one year, as long as you take care of the seeds, actually plays out and it saves you a lot of money. So that is why I do seeds. That's the huge reason. The other reason is there's side benefits, which are, I know what they're being started in. I know how old they really are. I know they're not root bound. I can move them out earlier when I want them to, or later. I can pay attention to the weather. I know they're in my house. I know what pests I would be dealing with. I know how strong they are. All of those things are side benefits, additional benefits, but the main reason why I do seeds is cost effectiveness. I literally bought 0 seeds this year. I bought 0 trays this year. I did buy soil. So the 1 bag of seed starting mix was $12, and the one bag of the potting soil was $12. So with tax, it's about $25 that I was out the door at the garden center, behaving myself, not buying anything else. It's very tempting. And that's my investment in a garden this year. So all of these seeds that I've already used that dollar value, that investment in previous years, now pays off here this year. It's going to be everything I harvest out of the garden after $25 is seriously going to be me saving money. So from the greens, the flowers, the herbs, the teas that we're going to grow, all of that stuff, the tomatoes, all of that stuff is now going to be way over $25 if I would have bought it at the store. And I have fertilizer left over from last year, so I'm good there. I have, let's see, the soil, I have amendments I'm adding to it. And if I decide to add soil mid-year and change stuff out when I switch everything after the hot summer, then that is something that I would be an additional investment, is the soil, if I went ahead and I did that. But really, that's a huge, huge savings. So that's why I do that. Okay, I'm going to keep going with this. I'll do a time lapse of me going ahead and planting the rest of this, and then we'll come back and show you how I get it set up. Okay, so our last one that we're going to do right now is actually a tricky one for me. So this is what I want to grow, the orange hat tomato. I thought I had bought a second pack, but apparently I didn't. And I have 3 seeds. This is, I think I really did buy a second pack, but I don't know where it is. So, 3 little tiny seeds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant these 3 seeds separately. These are supposed to be very shallow. These are 1/8 of an inch. So I'm barely just going to like scrape the top for these 3. I must barely scrape all the way across. So what I'm going to do is the top ones are going to be these 3 seeds. And I'm going to try to get seeds out of this. Now, if this doesn't work, I do have these tiny Tims that I can do. I just don't like this one as much. So I would prefer to do the orange hat. So I'm gonna break open. Ooh, there's lots of seeds right there. That's good. I was worried. Sometimes there's not a ton of seeds in these. All right. So I'm just going to plant these fresh. I'm literally going to squeeze goop onto my hand. And hopefully I can get some seeds out of this. So these look pretty full size. Let's see if you can see the goopiness here. So tomato seeds are inside of a gelatinous little thing. So I'm going to go ahead and do 2 per slot on here, and it's really going to be the water that's going to break this down. Get those on there and try to grow seeds like this. So this has to be from a very ripe tomato. This plant was actually starting to die, and this tomato was very squishy. So that's why I chose this tomato. It was super ripe, super squishy, and in all honesty, if I get tomatoes from these and not the other ones, there's multiple per slot on these particular ones, the ones from the fresh tomato. And what I would like to do is if 2 or 3 pop up out of here and nothing pops up out of my older ones, then I will just pluck them out and separate them and pot them up individually. I have 1 tier, so 6 pockets that I'm trying to do outside of the orange hat tomato. And then what I'm going to do is make an effort to try to save some more seeds. So I have 1 more tomato here, and what I'll probably do is do the water with these. So if you keep swishing them in water for like 3 days or whatever, then it will break off that gelatinous coating, and then you can dry them out. So we'll see. I may try to do that and just save some. These are really, really good tomatoes, and I grow them indoors pretty much year round. I'm not going to grow them indoors this year. I have 1 in the kitchen, but I'm not going to grow them indoors this year other than that. And if I'm going to do, yeah, I'm not going to do any inside as long as they survive outside. So that is the plan there. That's my experiment. So it's orange hat seeds times 3, and then orange hat fresh from tomato, fresh from tomato times 3 down. Okay. And then my last row is empty, which works because I think the last thing, if I decide to start them inside, is going to be my mustard. And I will do that row for the mustard, and that's perfect. The soil will be staying wet as I water these. So now I need to cover the ones that need to be covered, and then I need to just pat in the ones that don't, and then get it set up over here under the light. And I have my little map ready, so we're good to go here. Okay, so a couple of things I want to touch on really fast, some things I actually recently learned. So I don't want my plants, when they come up as baby seedlings, to be too close to the lights, because that could actually burn them as well. It's too hot. So I have 5,000 lumen LED shop lights. So my gardener just did a video on seedlings and lights, so I would go check that out. But it was something along the lines of, I think you want so many inches for the first 1,000 lumens, and then every other 1,000 after that, I think is another inch, which is why I have it where it is. I think that'll work out just fine, and I'll be able to bottom water once the seedlings start to germinate. and then I can spritz the top to help keep them moist while they are just seeds. And then I'm not using a humidity dome because, again, I do a lot of baking. There's water in here with the plants, and I think it's going to stay warm enough that it will germinate just fine without humidity, and I really don't want mildew. I am gonna go ahead and turn the fan on, even though there are, actually no, I'm not. I'm not gonna turn the fan on until the first little plants start to pop up. The only reason why I would turn it on ahead of time is if I start to see soil gnats or something along those lines where I want to keep them from landing, but right now I don't have anything. So that's the setup I'm doing for that, and then I'll be doing a similar setup but with potting soil for microgreens. I think I'm going to do a separate video for microgreens and show you growing them from planting to harvesting, because they all kind of harvest differently. So I'll be recording that. But guys, it is spring for me, not spring, but it's seed starting time for me. I feel spring is coming after this cold snap and all the rain and storms and wind. We are getting ready to plant. I do have plants growing outside right now. I did a January garden walk, so make sure you check that out. And every month I'll be doing another garden walk showing you what I have planted outside, and I'll do a seed update in a couple weeks as well. So I hope that you are getting ready and excited. If you are not in zone 9B, then hold off a little bit. Don't go too fast. You want to make sure you do your timing right. But this is the right timing for us. So we're getting it started and getting it rolling. And thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you again soon.